I never thought I would live this long. In a year, I'm making 3 movies. If you had told me that at 85 I'd be 3 movies, I would not have believed it. I didn't think I would live past 30. So just the fact that I'm alive and thriving is a big surprise. Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and this is the timeline of my career, I think. I hope. I can't say that I wanted to be an actor. I needed to move out of my father's house and live on my own. That was made very clear to me, and I didn't know what to do. And I became friends with Susan Strasberg, and she told me I should study with her father. And so I did, and he told me I had talent. And so I thought, okay, I guess that's what I'll do.
You all say you love me and are beholden to me, and take it easy, Cat. We're gonna take care of you. And the first time I ask you to do one little thing for me, like rob one little train.
Cat Ballou is some people's favorite among my movies. I made it because I was under contract to Columbia, as was Lee Marvin. As Lee Marvin reminded me one day before the movie began, he leaned over to me and he said, the only reason we're in this movie is because they could get us real cheap, because we were both contract players. It was an extremely low-budget movie, and I had not the foggiest idea that it would be a good movie, a funny movie, a movie people wanted to see, until I actually saw it. You see, I didn't see the scenes with Lee on his horse drunk and the horse with his legs crossed and things like that. I didn't see that, or I didn't see Stubby Kaye and Nat King Cole as the traveling troubadours until I actually saw the movie and then realized, wow, this is really fun. But I absolutely loved Lee Marvin. He was just a fantastic person, and he really taught me a lot. Also, I'm a horsewoman. I'm a good rider, so it was fun being in my first kind of Western. I didn't really think of myself as a good actor. I was married to a Frenchman, and if he didn't want me to do a particular movie, I wouldn't do it. I was pretty much doing whatever the man in my life wanted me to do. But acting is how I earned my living, so I wasn't about to give it up.
You won't make me cry. You'll never make me cry.
Like the geek.
Well, it'll be a lot more laughs than a stuffed shirt.
I thought you said I wasn't.
Well, you are now.
I'm not gonna listen to this. I'm not gonna listen to this. I have a case in court in the morning.
Well, where are you going?
Sleep.
Now.
Barefoot in the Park was a Paramount movie. Charles Bluedorn owned Paramount at the time. He was a Wall Street mogul guy, and he once told somebody, I will jump out of the window of my penthouse if Jane Fonda plays that role. I don't know how we managed to overcome his dislike of me, but I ended up doing the movie and ended up becoming friends with him. And it was a totally delightful experience because I fell in love with Bob Redford. I mean, we were both married and nothing came of it, of course, but I had such a crush on him that just going to work every day was stepping into paradise. Plus, it was a Neil Simon script, one of his best. So it was a brilliant script, and Gene Saks was a director, and it was one of my most fun, happy experiences to date. We had a blast, and it was very early on in Bob Redford's career. I think it was his first hit movie that he did. I have nothing but good memories of it.
You cannot go to sleep now, Paul. We're having a fight.
Well, you have the fight. When you're through, would you turn off these lights, please?
Oh, that gets me absolutely insane. You can even control your emotions.
No.
That? But nobody's done that for centuries. I mean, nobody except the very poor who can't afford the pills and the psychocardiogram readings.
Why not?
Because it was proved to be distracting and a danger to maximum efficiency.
So Dino De Laurentiis bought the comic book called Barbarella and offered, quite correctly, offered the part to Brigitte Bardot, who said no, to Sophia Loren, who said no, and Vadim really wanted me to do this and really wanted to direct it. He was a science fiction aficionado and a sexual aficionado. And so we persuaded De Laurentiis to have me do this part that Brigitte Bardot Vadim's previous wife, by the way, had turned down. And so I did it. I mean, here is this person, moi, who suffers from and suffered from body dysmorphia, playing Barbarella, and I had to start off naked in the title sequence. It was difficult for me psychologically to do it. I got drunk to play the scene, which had me lying on a thick pane of glass on the set that was turned upside down, me pretending to taking off my spacesuit, wind blowing, shot in slow motion. And at some point we realized the next day when we saw the dailies was that a bat kept flying between me and the camera lens, and we had to do it all over the next day. So I had to do the same scene that I was so frightened of with a hangover. All these young men later kept telling me that it was the first erection they had watching Barbarella. And so I thought, well, I'll take that. That's a good thing to be responsible for. And then I actually saw it, and I didn't think it was sexy at all, but I thought it was fun and camp, and it was kind of a trip. It was a trippy movie. So looking back now, I kind of, enjoy it, but it was a terrible experience to make.
But perhaps you'll stop this way again after you've completed your mission.
Yes, perhaps I will. Well, goodbye.
It's just a little bit further. Come on, you salty old bastard. Where's the fight? Come on. Come on.
The movie that I did after Barbarella was They Shoot Horses, Don't They? The largest extreme from one kind of movie to another. It took place during the Depression, and I played an extremely poor, depressed, desperate woman who partook in this dance marathon to try to earn a little money and ended up killing herself or getting herself killed. It was the first time in my life that I felt that I was in a movie that had something to say about American society that mattered. The world was aflame, and we made this movie about capitalism and greed and people being destroyed by it. And it was one of Sidney Pollack's first movies. It was a real turning point for me. It was the first time that I realized that I loved to act when I had material that I could really sink my teeth into. And I gave it my all. I really committed myself, body and soul, to that role. It was the first time that I was nominated for an Oscar. I just loved the movie.
Dusty and Cecil, let's have a big hand for the losers. Come on, folks, let's hear it.
You're successful as a call girl. You're not
Because
successful.
when you're a call girl, you control it. That's why. Because someone wants you. Not me. I mean, there are some Johns that I have regularly that want me, and that's terrific.
I played a prostitute, and I asked Alan if I could spend a week before we started shooting with prostitutes and madams, call girls, and they arranged for me to do that. I would go to after-hours clubs with these women where they would meet up with their Johns, and when that week was over, I went to Alan and I said, Alan, you're going to have to let me out of my contract. I can't do this. Not one man so much as winked at me. Nobody tried to pick me up. Nobody tried to seduce me. And I thought, they can tell I'm just this privileged bourgeois girl next door. I'm not right for this. Hire Faye Dunaway, okay? And he laughed and sent me out of his office, and I started shooting the next day and figured out a way to do it. It was just a miracle wonderfulness from beginning to end because of Alan and because of Gordon Willis, the director of photography, and Michael Small, who did the music. Every single thing about it contributed to the quality and frighteningness of the movie. One of the things that I learn when I see a lot of the films that I made in the 70s was, in those days, the good directors weren't afraid of allowing silence for things to just happen, for living to happen. I miss that. I really enjoyed it. Working with Alan Pakula was like being in a great ballroom dance with a fabulous dance partner. It just flowed and was smooth, and it was easy, and it was wonderful, and I won my first Oscar for it, and it gave me huge confidence as an actor.
You just lead them by the ring in their nose in the direction that they think they want to go in, and you get a lot of money out of them in as short a period of time as possible.
What?
What am I lighting a fire for? The old Girl Scout instinct's coming. Let's see, I've got a dip.
Sit down, Fender. Sit down.
I was extremely involved in the anti-Vietnam War movement and had been for a number of years. And by then I was married to the movement leader, Tom Hayden. Prior to marrying him, I had spent several years going to military bases and VA hospitals and talking to veterans who had been in Vietnam. I had hours and hours of transcribed interviews with them, and I'd talk to the wives of the guys after they'd come back from Vietnam, and I wanted to make a movie about it. And that movie became Coming Home. Me and my producing partner, Bruce Gilbert, and Jerry Hellman produced it, and Hal Ashby directed it. We started filming before we had a finished script, and so a lot of it was improvised. But I knew the woman, I knew that woman that I played, I knew her inside out. Being able to put what I knew and what I had known the women like her had experienced, being able to put that on the screen was a real joy for me. And the fact that John Voight and I both won Oscars, as well as the screenwriters, was such a validation. You know, it was still extremely hard to get a movie made about the war. In fact, it was one of the very first. That was a great experience for me.
I'm glad you're here.
How about some music?
Well,
What a rat. What a liar.
What a creep.
To think he told everybody I was sleeping with him.
So unfair. All during the Vietnam War, the organization that my husband Tom Hayden and I started, called the Indochina Peace Campaign, another person that was involved in that was Karen Nussbaum, who lived in Boston and who on her day job was organizing women office workers. And whenever I would be with her, she would talk about what women office workers had to put up with in terms of sexual harassment and demeaning work and wage theft and all of that. And I mean, it was like, wow, I can't even believe this. I just hadn't been paying attention. I didn't know. And I said to her, I've got to make a movie about this. And in the beginning, you know, because the stories were so horrific, it was going to be a kind of a serious movie. It was a dark comedy. Then I saw Lily Tomlin in a one-woman show downtown at the Amundsen Theater. I was smitten. She just blew me away. I had never seen that kind of talent. And I said to myself, I'm not going to make a movie about secretaries unless Lily Tomlin is one of them. And driving home from the theater, I turned on the radio, and Dolly Parton was singing Two Doors Down, and I thought, oh my goodness, wouldn't that be something to have Dolly be the third one? And they happened to have the same manager, and so it took me a year to persuade them both to be in this movie. And because it now had to be an out-and-out comedy, we hired Colin Higgins, who wrote and directed it, and we brought him to Cleveland to meet. There were about 40 women office workers, and they sat in a circle, and we had him talk to them all. And they all told their stories and everything. He asked them, he said, do you ever fantasize about what you'd like to do to your boss? Oh my God, you can't believe the things that these women said. I mean, most of them were too extreme to be in the movie, but that's where he got his idea from what the women said. We had such a good time on that movie, and it was one of the biggest box office movies that year.
Well, we're criminals now. We've just stolen a corpse from a hospital. That sounds like criminal to me.
We'll take it back. We'll just turn around and take it back.
Oh.
I think that
Maybe you and I should have the kind of relationship that we're supposed to have.
What kind of relationship is that?
Well, you know, like a father and a daughter.
Well, my dad was sick. I knew that he wasn't going to live much longer, and I wanted to make a movie with him, and I saw the play on Golden Pond, and I bought it, and we made it with my dad and Katharine Hepburn. I guess it was the most meaningful movie that I've done because of working with him and working with her. She had a huge influence on me, and the fact that they both won Oscars for their roles. It was a magical experience in every way. Working with my father was just like living with my father. You didn't get much input. He didn't talk much. He didn't want to be ruffled. But he was there. He was a yeoman. He was a pro. Put yourself in my shoes. A daughter who absolutely worshipped her father, who never expressed emotion. He didn't. Who never verbalized any love or affection, who was extremely repressed, and I get to produce a movie and act with him. And in that movie, I get to say to him things that I was never able to say in life. And in the movie, we reconcile. And in this movie that I produced for him, he ends up winning an Oscar. I am so grateful for having had an experience like that. He died 5 months later. But I have that movie, I have that experience with him.
Don't do it. Doesn't matter if you don't do the stupid dive. It's not important.
I did it!
Are you ready to do the workout?
I needed to start a business that would throw off enough money that could support the California Campaign for Economic Democracy. And that's what the Jane Fonda workout did. I learned the workout from Lenny Kasdan. I didn't realize how the timing was perfect. It was what people were waiting for, to have something that they could do in their homes. They wouldn't have to go to a gym. The videos were so successful. And it was the first time that home videos had been successful. And I'm very proud of the fact that I'm the only non-scientist and non-engineer in the Video Hall of Fame. I helped launch the industry.
Roll over on your right side, up on your elbow, point both toes, and lift. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Reggie.
Oh my God, I can't believe this.
So happy for you. Congratulations. So pleased that you're going to be my daughter-in-law. Yeah.
Monster-in-Law was probably the most strategic career thing I ever did. I had left the business because I married Ted Turner, and you don't work and have married to Ted Turner. You can't do both at once. So I quit the business, didn't miss it, not for a moment. Ted and I split up. I wrote a book, and then when I finished the book, I thought, oh, I'd like to get back to acting. And a script came along called Monster-in-Law, and my part was really exciting, and it was with Jennifer Lopez, and that people were going to see it because of Jennifer Lopez, and then they were going to rediscover or discover Jane Fonda, and that's what happened, and it was a hugely successful movie that's still beloved by people. I mean, when I see some girls walking towards me, young girls, and they recognize me, and they start to get all giggly, I know exactly, forget Klute and Julia and all the rest of it. Monster-in-Law, that's the one that they love, and it was great. And Jennifer was really fun to work with, and we got along great.
You did not just poke me. Don't you touch me, you two-bit tramp. Oh. Oh my God. Viola, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. You don't go and slap somebody and then apologize. Get some backbone.
This is why you brought us here. You didn't want me to make a scene, did you, Robert? You thought this place would protect you. You spineless chicken.
Don't do that.
I still lived in Atlanta, where I had lived with Ted. I moved back to Los Angeles, and then Marta Kaufman asked me if I wanted to do a television series with Lily Tomlin, which, I mean, great, I hadn't even thought about it. But yeah, sure, I'd love to do that. And so she pitched the idea to me and Lily, and we liked it, and the rest is history. I mean, I had no idea it was going to be so successful, or that it was going to be beloved across generations. I mean, I assumed it would be older women primarily, but it's also young people and college kids. Apparently, young people loved watching it with their grandparents, but it also, according to what women tell me, it gives hope to older women about even though they've been through some trauma, they can recover and survive and do well in late life. I mean, we fit together very well. She's just wonderful. We've remained friends in between times, and so it was just very natural and easy to flow back together with her.
How was that?
Well,
could have gone a whole lot faster, couldn't you?
Maybe. But I'm an 80-year-old woman, and I've earned the right to take my sweet fucking time.
that's my girl.
Gotta be sure they're not just showing up today. On the first Friday of March, come to Wilmington with us.
This was in 2019. The report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change had come out, and it was dire. And so I decided to, with the help of Greenpeace, move to D.C. and have a rally every Friday, and then commit civil disobedience. Do something that was against the law, like stand on the steps of the Capitol with placards and chant about the climate crisis. I spent my 82nd birthday in jail, and I knew that would get a lot of press. Well, all the Fire Drill Fridays got international press. Everybody was aware of it. And what I knew was that, you know, well, if that old lady can do that, then maybe I can do that. In the early 70s, when I first became an activist, I realized that what I needed to do is to be like a repeater. Those things at the tops of mountains, the antennas that you see sticking up on the tops of mountains, what they're there for is to pick up the weaker signals at the bottom of the valleys that can't be heard, and pick them up and carry them over the mountains so that they have a bigger audience. And so I saw myself as a repeater. I think it's important to cultivate hope. It's easy to lose hope, but it's important to maintain hope. It's the young people that are making the real difference and calling on the rest of us to step up, stand alongside them, and fight to ensure that there's a livable future for them. They help me maintain hope.